Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible, the screen? Hello, is it visible, the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So, okay. So in the last class, we have discussed about how to connect digital sensors and digital devices to the Arduino board using the digital input output pins and the functions related to that using digital write and the digital read. In the next section, we discuss about the necessity of analog signals. What's the nature of analog signals? How do you quantize the analog signals? How do you convert them into digital domain? How do you connect to the Arduino board? And also, how do you write a program to read analog data using the analog read signal? Today, we will discuss about how do we generate analog outputs from the Arduino board and how do we control over that analog output, and then how do we connect that analog output to the different types of analog output devices. We will see that today 2 to 3 analog output devices and how do you handle them when it comes to the project work. Let us consider the Arduino board. In the Arduino board, you do not have a separate what is called as analog output signals are not available. In most of the microcontrollers, it is like that. They do not provide what is called analog output signals. Whenever you do not have analog output signals, there is a two ways there to generate the signal. One is you can use what is called as a digital output only, digital output signal, you can use it, or you can use what is called external digital to analog converter, D2A. So converter, and then generate a digital output and then generate the analog. So there is the two methods what is available. Whenever you require an external DTA converter to generate analog signals, always the waveform whatever you generate will be of this form. That is, you can measure the output signal, that is a voltage with reference to time. It is like this, that is you can quantize. So it is between the, let's say 0 to 5 volts, you can get the different one. But it is also possible to generate the same type of output, effectively same type of output, not the waveform will be similar, but will give the meaning same thing. In the sense, effective DC voltage, that is when you measure that voltage at the multimeter, what is you get, which is similar to this voltage. That is what is called as, you can simulate analog output using what is called digital output. So that is a popular technique which has been employed in the industry. Whenever you do not have analog outputs, you do not have an external DTA, we follow this technique. So what is this technique? So PWM is a technique used to generate or simulate analog output using digital output signals. So how do we generate them? What is the principle behind them? Now look at this. Look at this screen for a moment. Could you see that the PPT? Hello, keep responding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, I have used digital. What is the meaning of a digital output pin? I can generate either 0 or 1. Look at this. Any moment you can look at this waveform. See, for example, if I look at here, what is the value I have? I have a 1. Look at here, what is the value of 0? That means that if you look at this red signal, any moment of time, it is a 0 or 1 only. It is no other value. That means that it is nothing but it's a signal produced by the digital output signal. But let's say I have produced this type of waveform. What is this type of waveform? That is, I made it high for some time, low for some time, again high for some time, low for some time. That is certain on time, certain off time. You can call this as a frequency, because what is a frequency? A signal with a given on time and off time. If I repeatedly produce, it produces a waveform which will have a perfect frequency, a required frequency. Let's say I have generated a particular square waveform with a particular frequency. Now, if somebody asks you, of course, if I produce this waveform on a pin and you measure the voltage in a multimeter, what do you get? Because in a multimeter, you will not show what is called waveform. You will show only the voltage. So the voltage, what is shown in the multimeter, when you generate a waveform like this on the screen, it is called effective voltage. So this is the actual voltage. See, the green color, whatever you see, is the actual voltage produced by this waveform. So now, let's say I will produce another digital output waveform. Now the on time is less, off time is more. If you measure in the multimeter at the pin voltage, what do you get? You get in the green. See, the voltage is less. Now again, I'll produce another voltage waveform where the on time is more, off time is less. Now, if I measure the voltage in the multimeter again, what is the voltage I'm going to get? This is the voltage. There's a green color. What is shown is a voltage I'll be going to get. That means that, what do I understand that? That means that more the on time, if it is there in a given waveform, the effective voltage, what you can see in the multimeter, the effective voltage, DC voltage produced will be the more. If the less the on time, the voltage what you get is less. If it is in between, that is both the on time and off time are equal, then it is a in between, that is a medium value. So what is the maximum actual voltage you can get? Maximum it can be 5 volts. It cannot be more than that. When it is 5 volts, then it's always on. That means that your waveform will always be on. That is the sense, it's on only. There's no off. It's not coming back. That is called 5 volts. When is the minimum possible? 0 voltage. That means that your signal is always slow. That means that using this concept, you can produce the minimum of 0 voltage to the maximum of 5 voltage. You can control. How do you control? By changing the on time and off time. So this ratio that is called as on time divided by on plus off time is called as a duty cycle. So for example, what is the meaning of 50% duty cycle? That is on and off should be same. 10% duty cycle, but on time is very less and compared to the total time, total on plus off time. What is a 90% duty cycle? On time is comparatively more compared to the off time. So that ratio is more. So what is the duty cycle ratio? It is on divided by on plus off into 100%, into 100. So when you say that one, we say called duty cycle. So if somebody asks, you do not have analog output, can you generate an analog output from a microcontroller? Your answer should be what? Yes, it is possible to generate an analog output from a digital output by using a technique called pulse width modulation. In a pulse width modulation technique, so we are varying the on time and the off time, so that we can able to produce a ratio on divided by on plus off. By varying that ratio, we can vary the DC voltage, actual voltage which is produced at that pin when we measure in a multimeter. So this is the technique. So these are the few signals. You can just see that these are the few signals I have just shown that. So this is a 0% duty cycle. That means that always it is 0. This is a 100% duty cycle. That is always 5 volt. That is the minimum range is 0, maximum is 5. This is a 25% duty cycle. This is a 50% duty cycle, and this is 75% duty cycle. Now, in Arduino, they are provided on function called analog write. Using the analog write function at any of the digital pins, not all the digital pins, there are some pins are available in the Arduino which are capable of generating PWM on these digital pins. On those pins, what are those pins? Pin number 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. So 6 pins, digital pins, I can use them to generate a PWM waveform. So those pins are indicated by tilt symbol. You can see on the board. So now, whenever I want to generate this waveform, what is the function I have to use? Analog write I have to use. I have to use a pin number among these 3, among these 6, and then the value. What is the value? If at all, if you want to get complete 5 volts, gives a maximum value 255. That is analog write, the pin number, comma 255 means what is the voltage you'll get? You'll get 5 volts completely. If I want to get 0 voltage, then what do you say? Analog write, the pin number, comma, value should be what? 0. 0 means 0 voltage. That means that to always 0, you should write 0 here. To get the maximum, I should be able to write 255. Now, by varying the value between the 0 to 255, I can vary the value between the 0 to 5 volts. So whenever we vary the value between the 0 to 255, what will happen? Automatically, this function changes the on time with reference to what? On plus off time, and you get a different values. For example, some examples are given. If you want 25% duty cycle, what is the value you're supposed to write? 64, writing 64. If you want to write 50% duty cycle, you want to get, then you have to write 127. 127 is what? Half of the 255. And then if you want to 75% duty cycle, you're supposed to write 191. These are some of the quiz questions we may ask you. For example, generate a function to generate a 75% duty cycle. Then you should be able to know that what is the value you have to put in this function to get the 75% duty cycle. So these are the values. From 0 to 255 is the numbers you should be able to generate. You should be able to give them to get the different this one. Now what we will do, we will understand this one going to the Tinkercad. And then we will do some projects based on that. Could you able to see the Tinkercad? Can you answer me, somebody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now what I'll do is, to start with, I'll not add any component. I'm having a multimeter on the screen. I'm just taking one of the analog pins and connect to the multimeter to show you that can I get, other than 0 to 5 volts, can I get an analog type of signal on the pin? That is my challenge. So I will see 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. These are the pins what is available. I'll take one pin 3. I will connect here. So I will take the ground pin. So I have just connected to this pin. Okay. So now I'll just change the color of the 3 pin to the red. So I will change this to the black color. Okay. Now this is the waveform I want to monitor here. That is what is the voltage waveform I'll get. I'll go to code. So now I'll remove other things which is not required. So I will just so now look at that. I have written a small a program where first of all I'll configure the pin mode of the pin number 3 as an output. Then I want to use the analog write function. I know that which is a pin number. Pin number should be 3. So I've indicated a pin number 3. You can give a name for that also. Then I know that what is the value maximum I can write? 255. What is the minimum I can write? 0. So I am written a for function. I is equal to 0 to I less than 250, I plus plus. So I am varying the value of I and calling this function and measuring the voltage at this point. I want to see that can I get 0 to 5 volts. So to see the output, so I will just take one delay function. So delay of, let's say on 200, I'll write it. Now look at here. I have made the connections with a multimeter. I have written a function. I will now run the code to see that can I get a program like this. See that?
Again, P2 arrives. When P2 arrives, what it does, A has to think whether P2 is or not. What A will do, they will send P2 in the build part because this is already occupied by P1. So this concept is called as packets. What is packets?
So it is generating a voltage starting from 0 with a resolution, because it's an 8-bit resolution we have used, because the value of I is an 8-bit. With this 8-bit resolution, it's changing. Whereas ADC, we have used a 10-bit resolution since it's a software implemented PWM. So they've used 8-bit resolution. So as you see that means that it goes up to the 5 volts and it comes back. So this is how this logic is going to work. So now we have understood that. So it is possible to generate analog voltage from these pins using a PWM concept. Let us take 1 or 2 devices, how does it work? Let's take a simple LED. I will take a simple LED to start with. So this LED, whatever I have taken now, has got a cathode and an anode. So instead of connecting to the multimeter, I can just take to the multimeter. I'll take the same point, connect to the anode, connect to the anode. I'm not just using a resistor to start with, but to make it simple, then I've taken a ground wire and then I have connected to this one. Now, if you look at this one, I have a pin number 3. Through that, I am generating analog output using a PWM concept. So, okay. So look at the possibility here now. Till now, you understood that you can able to generate only on and off an LED. No, it's not like that. LED brightness depends upon what is the amount of current you are flowing through the LED. If I change the current I am flowing through the LED is more, and I can able to change the current value here by varying the different voltages here, then what will happen? The brightness of the LED changes. Now we can see that there is a brightness change. Of course, you can notice very minimal in the simulator, but actually when you put this on the board, you can see the finer changes in the brightness of an LED. Now I have not written the code added for that. The 3, okay, I've added for the 3 and the 250, okay. So I'll simulate them. You can see that the value on the LED, the brightness keeps changing as I change it. So now I'll make it faster. So I'll run it. You can see that as the voltage is increasing, you can see the brightness is changing on the LED. So it is coming down and it's increasing. So this is how you can able to see that the brightness of an LED can be changed by connecting to this one. You can use an LED, otherwise the voltage it will not reach to 5 volts here. Now this is one equipment. Let us take another one. Some device. So say for example, I'll take a DC motor. So what is a DC motor? DC motor is a small motor which has the capability to run in a given direction. That means that if I supply the 5 volts here in the terminal 2 with reference to the ground, the motor rotates in one direction. If I change the voltage here, that is, if I give the 5 volts here on the ground here, the motor rotates in another direction. It's a continuous rotation motor. That means that, so the motor rotates in a continuously. It is not in terms of steps like a stepping motor, which we'll study later. It is like a normal motor, so what you use, for example, to cool your CPU, to use in the mixies, another thing, all they are DC motors. The fan, everything is all DC motors. Now, your wiper, they use a DC motors. Now, whenever the voltage and this motor, for example, these motors are available in a rated voltage. For example, say 5 volts DC motor means that you can apply up to 5 volts. By varying the voltage up to that voltage, that is 0 to, if it's a 5 volts motor, if I vary the voltage from 0 to 5 volts, I can able to achieve the different speeds. That means that direction change I can affect, by changing the voltage between these 2 points. By changing the voltage at the point what you are applying, instead of 5 volts always 0 to 5 volts, you can get the varying speeds. This is the principle of a DC motor. Generally, if the motor capacity is more, 12 volts, 24 volts motor, you cannot connect them directly to the Arduino. You require a DC motor controller circuit, a driver ICs, you have to use it. Now I have taken, since it's a simulator, I've taken a 5 volts DC motor of a lower power rating so that I'm just connecting that directly here. Now I'll remove the connection from the LCD. Now my device will be different. So I have taken the, now motor is my device. So I will connect, let's say I'll go to the pin number 5. I will connect to the here 1. So I will change here. All right. Similarly, I go to the ground wire. I'll just connect to. So I have just connected to ground. So this is what I have just done it. So now I'll go to the code. So the pin number 5, I will be selecting pin number 5. So since I've used a 5, then here, let's say I will write the pin number, the 5. Now I will make it a little faster. So now I'll run the code, my code. So look at the code, the motor is rotating. You look at the RPM here, look at the inside the small, the value is there, correct now. So you see it's coming down, the RPM is reducing to the minimal value, some 0 RPM, and then it's going to what? The maximum RPM. It goes to around 5000 RPM. So 0 to 5000 RPM, it is changing. That is, I am producing a voltage, variable voltage at the pin number 5. You can note down that voltage if you want to check in a multimeter. So I'll just remove the connection here. I'll just place the connection of the multimeter here so that you can observe the change in the voltage there. So okay, I'll again run that one. You can see that there is a voltage is also changing. The rotation speed is also changing. As the voltage increases, the speed increases. As the voltage comes down, the speed reduces. So this is the concept of rotating the DC motors using the PWM signals. So now we have understood LED, how to vary the brightness. We have understood how to rotate the motor. We will take one more component which is very frequently used in the circuits to give a coloring effect to your outputs, to indicate the different status values. What is that? So we will just see that component. So it's an RGB LED. So now I am using an RGB LED. I'll remove the motor now for a moment. I'll remove the connection of a motor. So I have tried with the motor. Now I'll go with the RGB LED. So what is the concept of an RGB LED? Normal LEDs, you know that in a normal LED, you can have, when you purchase, go to the market and purchase, you can ask for only one color. Either give me the green color or give me the red color or give me the blue color LED. That is, you ask for a color. In that color LED, you can make it on and off. What is the maximum you can do? You can change the brightness of that color from minimal to maximum. That's all you can able to do it. But if you want to use an LED to indicate the different status, that means that, for example, you build an equipment, you have to indicate a status of an equipment, whether equipment is off, equipment is on, equipment is running fast, running slow, like the different indications you have to give in a LED. Then what you have to do, one color is not sufficient. Brightness of a color is not noticeable. So only the variation of a colors can able to indicate different status. So I require a single LED. I don't want multiple LEDs. When you take a multiple LEDs, cost on circuit will be more. So I want a single LED. You should be able to indicate different colors. So if I want red, should indicate. If I want green, it should indicate green. If I want yellow, it should indicate. If I want pink, it should indicate a pink. So how it is possible? That is possible using what is called RGB LEDs. RGB LEDs will have what is called as 4 leads will be there. One lead will be the cathode, which should be connected to the ground, like as usual. Whenever we use a cathode, what do? We ground it. Now, instead of one anode, there are 3 anodes are there. So one is called as blue anode, one is called as a green anode, other is called as a red anode. Now, each of these anodes can take 0 to 5 volts. If you want only from this LED, red only, then what you can do? Connect to the cathode, select the red color, and just connect to one pin, digital output, you can get a red. But if you want a variation of a red is required, yes, again, one connection is required, but you can, instead of you generating just only 5 volts, you generate a PWM on that point, you get a variation of a red. Similarly, I want to combine the red with another color. Then what you do? You have to generate another PWM signal on the blue also. If you want on a green shade also, I want to generate a PWM on the green also. So what does it mean that I require to produce a different colors means I have to apply the PWM signals on the red, on the blue, on the green. Then what are the combinations possible? 2 to the power of 8 into 2 to the power of 8 into 2 to the power of 8. That means that it's like a pixel. Now your LED become a pixel. This pixel can define, can have a combination of what? Different colors. What are the combination? So you can choose a combination of RGB. Red, how many combinations are possible? 0 to 255. G, how many combinations are possible? 0 to 255. B, how many combinations are possible? 0 to 255. So this is called, that is, so 8-bit for what? 8-bit for red, because 0 to 255 represent 8-bit. 8-bit for the green, 8-bit for the blue. So how many total bits? 24-bit. This is what is called as 24-bit BPP format. When you save any image in a paint, you see that there is a format called 24-bit format. Is a 24-bit pixel format. In the sense what? You can able to change the color of the pixel. In this case, LED. So what are the combinations possible? So 8 into 8 into 8. That means in the sense you can change the red intensity 0 to 255, the blue intensity 0 to 255, green intensity 0 to 255. That means that you can get a millions of colors, correct? Thousands of colors by wearing the RGB. So this is a 24-bit, the format pixels you can able to use. If you closely put these LEDs, for example, if you take SMD, SMD means which can be soldered on the PCB and which occupies very less space. If you're able to put all the SMDs in a PCB very close, it's nothing but you can able to produce what? A digital screen. So that is the advantage of having the RGB LED. Now we will take a simple application where I want to use for a status indication. Now what are the connections I have to make it? Now 3, cathode. First I will connect the cathode to the ground. Of course you have to do with the resistor only. Here again I'm just neglecting the resistor. So you have to use the proper resistors in series everywhere. So I will select the 3 and I'll connect to let's say green. 3 I'll connect it. The 5 so 5 I will connect to the blue. So 3, 5 and the 6. Okay, 6 I will connect to red. Okay, so I've just connected 3, 5 and the 6. So these are the 3 different colors I've just connected. This is an RGB LED. Cathode I connected to, ground I've connected. Now what is the code? 3, 5, 6 I've used it. So I will set the pin outputs for the 3, 5, 6. So 3, 5 and the 6. Now what I'll do is I will use 3 analog write functions inside this one. I will write 3 analog write on this one. Okay, so I will change this to 3, 5, 6. So I will comment these 2 to start with. So I will use only 3 to start with. So that is only one color should be able to change it. I will uncomment the other and see that each of the colors can I get it. So now what I'll do is I'll run this program. So see that now it says that it's a green color. I can able to vary from the green color. So now multimeter is available at a particular file. That is why it's able to. I'm able to achieve the green color. So different green colors I'm getting it. Now I'll stop the simulation. Now I will uncomment this one. I'll comment other one. Now other color. Now I should be able to get the other color. See that now I'm getting a blue color. Earlier I got a green. Now I'm getting a blue shades. Different blue shades I'm going to get. Since the multimeter is connected at that point, it's showing that. Now I'll stop. Now I got the blue shades. Now I'm going to change. I will comment the first 2, uncomment the last one. That's the other color. Now again I'll see that. Now it's a different color, red. So green, blue, red. That means the same LED, I'm able to produce the different shades. Now if you use all the analog writes with the different values, correct now, you get a combination of what? RGB colors. You can get a combination of RGB colors, variety of outputs you're going to get. So this concept of PWM is used to design multicolor LED circuits for different applications. So this is the code and this is the circuit. This is the code and this is the circuit. Okay, any doubt? You can just raise your doubts now.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir,
Yeah,
regarding DC motors.
yeah,
Sir, you had told that we can control the speed
yeah,
of the DC motor just by using an Arduino. But
yeah,
then in real life and in like many places where I'm seeing, you use an adapter like a sort of a modulator or something like that
yeah,
along with the Arduino in order to control
Yeah.
the speed of a DC motor. Why is that, sir?
yeah. So you look at for a moment the screen. Now let's say you have connected a DC motor. This DC motor comes in a different drive capacity. For example, let's say I want to connect a 12 volts DC motor, 1 amp. I mean, in the sense, it's a little powerful, 12 volts motor. Your Arduino is what? It's a 5 volts signal it generates, 5 volts with reference to ground. That means that it is not possible to drive this motor directly. What do you require? I require a driver. Driver is nothing but why? Like a transistor. So driver is nothing but what? Like a transistor. It's a transistor. So what I'll do is now, so I will write a transistor for the driver and so directly I'll write a circuit here. So let's say I'll drive. Because why? If I connect directly 5 volts to the DC motor, then what will happen? It is not in a position to drive the DC motor because DC motor requires 12 volts. What you're generating is a 5 volts. Yes or no? So you should able to amplify the voltage and the current to the requirement of the DC motor. In such cases, we require an adapter, the power supply. So what we'll do, I'll take a plus 12 volts one adapter I'll purchase in the market. What is the adapter I'll purchase depends upon the requirement of a DC motor I have to purchase. If it's a 24 volts DC motor, I have to purchase a 24 DC motor adapter. Then after purchasing the adapter, how many wires adapter will have? 2 wires adapter will have. I'll cut the wires of the adapter. Then I have taken a transistor which is available in the market. Lot of transistors available in the market which can support 1 amp current. Now what I will do, 12 volts I'll connect it here. The other leg of the DC motor I'll connect to the collector of my transistor, and this emitter I'll ground it now. Now the base of the transistor, which requires a very less voltage to make the transistor on and off, that I'll connect to what? I have connected to the 5 volts of your Arduino board. Now what will happen? Arduino board is driving the 5 volts only with a minimum requirement of, let's say, 10 to 20 milliamperes. What is required to drive your base current? But who is driving your motor? It is with the help of a transistor and the adapter you are able to driving the motor. Who is supplying the current to the motor? The adapter is supplying the current. Who is supplying the voltage? Adapter is supplying the voltage. But who is controlling? Arduino is controlling. So these type of driver circuits are very essential whenever you drive high power circuits using the Arduino. The principle of control is done by Arduino. The PWM waveform, everything is done by Arduino only. But the power and the current will be supplied with the adapter. Hope you understood.
Sir, yes, sir, but I have another doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, but normally when you see in these kind of circuits where you require a driver, we also require another external battery source. Let's say a 12 volt DC battery source, or let's say a regulator RPS or something like that, in order to power that DC.
Yeah, that's what. That is the adapter. I'm telling adapter. Instead of adapter, you connect a battery also. See, this adapter or a battery.
The adapter is also required, and also battery source is required. Both
It's
of them
not required. For example, if you're already always power is available, your adapter is sufficient. You don't require a battery. If you want, when do you require a battery? Even there is no power is there, you should run independently, then the battery is required. For example, if you take in a Mixi, yes or no, in the Mixi on and off control, digital Mixis are available nowadays, the front panel. There is no batteries there in the Mixis. You open and see that there is no batteries available, but a digital touch is provided nowadays. So by just digital touch, the 220 volts, whatever the power supply is there and the relay is there, they'll be used it. Either you require a 12 volts power supply, or you require what is called 220 volts power supply, which is available in the houses. In such cases, we instead of adapter, we use what is instead of a transistor, we use what is called the relays we use here. Either this, or I can use a relay. I can use it. Relay is nothing but, so when you don't require a transistor, you can use a relay. Relay and transistor does the same job. That means it establishes a control from a smaller signal to a larger value signal.
So, sir, this 5 volt which has been provided by the Arduino, it has been amplified by the DC driver, and sorry, that's by the transistor driver, and it gives the 12 volt output to the.
Yes. So amplify in the sense, as you studied in the electronics, what is the job of a transistor? It allows the higher collector current and the collector voltage to pass through the load. What is the load here? The motor is a load here. Yes or no? It is not. Arduino is supplying that current. Who is supplying the current? The current is supplied by the adapter only. The power is supplied by the adapter only. That is either AC source, whatever you have in the house. You are just controlling that mechanism. Yes or no? Because your base current is very less. Collector current is high. That is, you are modulating it. You are controlling. That is a concept of transistors, MOSFETs. Yes or no? All those things. This is the basic principle.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So we have discussed today about the analog. This completes a discussion about the Arduino. All the other projects are based on just these principles only. To summarize, I will go to the again Arduino and some other pins which I have not discussed. I'll just explain that we will study in detail in the ARM explanation when I go to the ARM. So now look at this picture for a moment. Apart analog pins we have studied, the digital pins we have studied, there are certain other pins are available. The other pins are available. What is the meaning of these pins in general, and why do we require this one? I'll explain this with reference to this one. An explanation. Now look at here for a moment. Now you require many a times the Arduino board to be connected to the other devices in the sense they can be intelligent devices. For example, see, there is no facility in the Arduino board to store the date and time. For example, you switch off Arduino and switch on the Arduino. There is no way you can record the date and time. Of course, E-square form you can use, but generally there is no facilities there, battery backup, RAM. So if you want, for example, so you want RTC, we call as an RTC chip. RTC chip is what? Is a date and time chip which can record. Or I want to have an SD card so that I can store some data which is generated during my running of my program. I want to connect an SD card. So there is no facilities there as of it now in the Arduino, whatever we have seen that. For example, you want to use an ADC which is of, let's say, 16-bit because you have only 10-bit. So, or I want to connect to a laptop so that I can able to upload my information. Or I want to connect to a Wi-Fi circuit. I want to connect to the cloud. So using the Wi-Fi connectivity. So whenever you want to have all these things around the Arduino, existing digital and analog pins is not enough to establish the connection to these type of devices. For that, what is called as 3 popular protocols are available used in the embedded industry. These 3 protocols are supported by the Arduino. What are those 3 protocols? Number 1, first protocol. So the first protocol is called as UART protocol. So what is the UART protocol? According to UART protocol, Arduino provides 2 lines, what is called as TXD, other is called as RXD. So, and then with reference to ground, that means that these 3 pins are used to establish a connection in a serial mode, So UART means universal asynchronous receiver transmitter. That means that you can use the TXT line to send the data to other device. You can use the RXT line, receive data line, to receive the data from other line, and this is with reference to ground. That means that, for example, I can use these 3 types of connections to establish a connection to a GSM module, for example, or I can use them to connect to what is called GPS module. For example, you want to introduce a GSM or GPS module into your projects. What to do? Immediately you should think that, oh, I should not use digital pins. I should not use analog pins. I should use a protocol. So what protocol I should require? UART or a serial protocol I have to supposed to use. It is also on another time called as UART or a serial protocol. So serial protocol. So I can use this protocol. So this is what you have to remember. And now we'll go to another protocol. The second protocol supported by the Arduino board is called as an I2C protocol. I2C protocol is a protocol. It is to connect inter-ICs in a board. For example, if you build a project, there are so many integrated circuits are there in a board. I want to connect one circuit or one integrated circuit, that is one IC to other IC. If both ICs are intelligent, you should be able to have a protocol to exchange the data between the two ICs. For example, let us take an ADC. So ADC IC itself is an intelligent IC. It comes with a microcontroller, so many circuits inside. So if you want to establish a connection between this one, we use what is called as this one. So there is a lines called SDA and SCL, correct now, and with reference to ground. So using 3 lines, I can able to establish a connection between this one. So I2C protocol is supported by 3 hardware lines: serial data, serial clock, and the ground, which are used to connect a lot of sensors which are commonly available in the market and which are intelligent, which cannot be connected directly to your analog pins or digital pins. As the standards are evolving nowadays, just knowing the digital pins or knowing the analog pins is of no way useful to build the larger projects. You should know the protocols. So what is the protocol used to interface a lot of sensors in the market? I2C is a protocol. So any intelligent device you get in the market, you should identify what protocol it supports. Next, the third protocol is called as SPI protocol. So SPI protocol is a serial peripheral interface. Whenever I want to send lots of data at a high speed, that is more than the speed and more than the speed at which I2C protocol UART call supported, then I have to use SPI protocol. What type of things I can use it? Whenever use an SD card, for example, if you want to use an SD card interface, I require this protocol. So what are the pins it supported? So for this, it supported MOSI, MISO, and then the serial clock and the select line is required. Select line is required. So that means that it has got a 4 lines: master output, serial input, master input, serial output, serial clock, and the ground. So using this, I can able to establish what connection between SD card, and also can use to connect to the LCDs. So high resolution color LCDs, all I can connect it. So in general, summarizing, Arduino provides 3 types of serial protocols. Serial protocols it supports. So those protocols are called as UART protocol, I2C protocol, SPI protocol. UART protocol used to connect GSM module, GPS module, laptop, Wi-Fi modules, and etc. I2C protocol is used to connect different types of sensors, ADCs, DAC ICs. It's used in the market. SPI protocol is used to connect LCDs and SD card, other high data intensive devices. It will be used. So if you look at the diagram here, those are the pins it is indicated. For example, SPI protocol, look at here: master input, serial output, master output, serial input, and the slave select and the serial clock. Again, look at the I2C protocol: serial clock and the serial data signal, and with reference to ground. So similarly, UART protocol, TXT and the RXT. So other I2C pins are also available here. You can use these 2 also I2C pins. And these protocols, I2C protocol advantage is not one device. It's like a bus. You can hook number of I2C devices to the same bus. So we will study them in detail for these protocols. So this completes a discussion about the Arduino board and how to use the digital input port, output pins, analog output pins, analog input pins, and the protocols to build the different circuits. So here I have given 2 applications in the notes, whatever there. So you can go through those 2 applications. So it is a very popular applications. So the library is available by the Arduino Studio to support those 2 applications. So we will just, 2 minutes, I'll just glance through the applications. So anyway, it's easy to understand that applications. So it is called as distance measurement application. That means that whenever you want to measure an obstruction or when you want to measure the distance, so you can always using ultrasonic sensors are available in the market. So these ultrasonic sensors, the principle of working is sonar rays. So what is the concept of sonar rays is, so you should able to understand the trigger, echo, and the ground. Trigger is the output you have to generate from the Arduino board, and echo is the input generated by this board. You should catch that signal in the Arduino board. That means that when you generate a trigger, read the echo signal, identify that any obstruction is there, or you want to measure the distance at which the obstruction is available. So this is ultrasonic sensor. It uses a sonar concept to determine the distance of an object, just like the bats do. So you can use it from 2 centimeter to 14 centimeter, 1 inch to 13 feet. It depends upon the modules, whatever you use it. What are the connections required? So these are the 2 pins I've used in the circuit, 2 and 3. So one is a trigger we have used, one is a echo pin you have used, and 2 is a power supply lines. That means that there are 4 pins are there for this ultrasonic sensors boards. One you have to connect to ground, other is a VCC. These are connected to the digital pins, not analog pins. You can connect to the digital pins because it's basically a waveforms. It's a high and low waveform, so that don't connect to analog. Connect to the trigger and echo. 2 pins, you can use the digital pins. Now what is the logic required here? First, you have to generate the pulses. Say for example, if you generate a trigger pin, using the trigger pin, you make it high and then low. How much time? For 10 microseconds you have to make it. How do you achieve the microseconds, 10 microseconds? That is what called delay microsecond is there. Like a normal delay is for milliseconds. So delay microsecond is a function available. Through that you can able to control the microsecond. So use a pin, which is 1 pin for in the trigger pin, make that pin high and keep it for 10 microseconds and make it low. The moment you trigger pin, you trigger the signal on the trigger pin. So what will happen is in this module, there's a circuit is there. This circuit is already built in this distance measurement sensor, ultrasound sensor. What this circuit will do? This circuit will generate a waveform called as this type of waveform, 40 kilohertz sound waveform it will generate. The module will generate a 40 kilohertz sound waveform. So how many such pulses? 8 pulses of 40 kilohertz will be generated by the sonar sensor, ultrasonic sensor. So the moment it generates here, then again the sensor is going to provide. The sensor has the capability to take the reflection for the waveform, whatever it generates. Once it gets the reflection, it generates the echo signal. That means that this echo signal is also generated by what? Ultrasonic sensor. You are generating the trigger pin, then the ultrasonic sensor generate the sound waveform. Then based on the output received from this waveform, the ultrasonic sensor generates an echo output at the pin on one of the pins of the ultrasonic sensor. How does the echo pin work? The moment it becomes on. When it becomes on, the moment all the 8 pulses are generated, the echo pin becomes 1. That means it becomes 0 was there, it becomes 1. Then after some time, once it receives the reflection for this, whatever the waveforms you send, it becomes a low. So the pulse duration of the echo pin gives an indication that what is the time taken for your sound wave to travel and come back to the board again. So time taken by pulse to leave and return back. So this pulse duration is very important. This indicates what is the distance at which obstacle is found or the time taken, because if you know the time taken, you can find out the distance because there is a relationship is there. You know the speed at which the light waves travel. So this waveform width is very important in calculating the distance at which I got an obstruction. So there is a library is available whenever you use this one library. So these are the certain formulas required. Speed of the sound, it's given there. So there's a formula called time is equal to distance by speed. Using that, I can able to find out the distance if I know the time. So with that principle, the functions has been built. So what are the functions provided? So 3 functions are provided. One is called as the pulse in function. The pulse in function is an important function. This function, what does it does? So first I have to write the trigger pin low and high. That means that using these three, there's a first job. I'll making what? 10 microsecond pulse I'm generating at the trigger pin. Then after that, after generating this pulse of 10 microseconds, then what will do? I will make the trigger pin low again. That is high, low, high, low. I'll make it. So that means that trigger is generated. Now the ultrasonic sensor starts working. Now I want to measure the pulse width at the echo pin. So this is the important function. This function, the logic has been already built into this function. So you just say pulse in what pin you want to measure the pulse width on the echo pin. So what is when does it becomes high? You're looking for this waveform. Yes or no? You're looking for this waveform. So whenever the duration is high, you want to, for that duration high, you want to measure the pulse duration echo. Then the distance is equal to duration into 0.3. This is the formula. So where you are dividing by 2 means it's taken time for what? Traverse and also reverse coming back of that one. So if an example, if the object is 20 centimeter away from the sensor and the speed of the sound is 340 meters per second or 0.034 centimeter per microsecond, the sound wave will need to travel about 588 microseconds. But what you will get from the echo pin will be a double that number, because the sound wave needs to travel forward and bounce backward. So in order to get the distance in centimeter, we need to multiply the received travel time from the echo pin by 0.034 and divide it by 2. So this is the formulas. So that is why we have divided it by 2 here. So now, based on this distance, once you get a distance, you can implement different logics. Here we have given obstruction. If the distance is less than, I'm just glowing the light LED. If the distance is more than 10, I'm making it low. So like that, we are indicating if the obstruction is available within 10 centimeter, like that, you can able to find it. So this is a beautiful experiment, and a lot of applications you can find for the ultrasonic sensors. You can conduct this experiment if you have a board. It will be a very useful experiment. But we are not using any analog input and output. The last experiment. So one of the very commonly used device in the digital world or embedded world is called the servo motors. What is a servo motor? Servo motors, or there's what is called shaft. You can see the shaft here. I can able to control the angle at which it rotates. The DC motor is a continuously rotation motor. In a servo motor, I can control. Let's rotate the motor 0 degree, 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, like that in a motor. These are small servo motors, digital servo motors, which I have taken for example. In this servo motor, I'm able to control the rotation of the servo motor from 0 to 180 degree. So for this, we are using analog write pins. The PWM concept has been used. These servo motors, which is very commonly used with a Arduino board, you have to use what is called servo.h library. You have to use it. So in the program, include a library called servo.h. Then what are the connections you have to make? The connections you have to make is what? One of the PWM pins, you can use it to connect to this one, and one to the VCC, one to the ground. So these servo motors comes with 3 wires. So one wire you connect to the power supply, one to the ground, one to the PWM. Now, then include servo.h library. After including that one, you have to attach the device, that is the servo motor, whatever it may be, to make it work. So my servo, these are the functions provided. These are functions provided by this class. You have to declare that. After including the header file, you create a servo object. So S capital, say SERVA, ROV. This is the servo, my servo. This is the object you have to create. Once you create this object, first do the attachment. Attach the servo on the pin number 9, because so you can use any of the PWM pins. Now what does it mean that I'm using pin number 9 PWM pin for the servo motor control? This is the meaning of this one. So then after that, so what is the function? So write is a function provided in the object, servo object. So what is the value you can provide? You can provide the position. So position you can achieve from 0 to 180 degree. So 0 to 180 degree you can change. If you give 180 here, you get a 180 degree rotation. If you give a 0 degree rotation. So 10 steps of 1 degree. This is a resolution you can able to achieve. So using the right function, you can move the servo motor in whatever the direction in whatever the angle you want from the 0 to 180 degree. This is what it's possible here. So I just moved in the clockwise direction 0 to 180 degree and then rotated back from 180 degree to 0 degree. Again, more details about these types of motors, how this works, what is the internal architecture, everything when we study about the unit 4 with the ARM microcontrollers. So these are the 2 applications. I recommend you to work on Arduino board and make all the projects what is given in the notes is clearly understood, and so that you can build any projects in your life in the future using the Arduino boards. So this completes today's discussion on the last topic of Arduino. So in the next class, we start with the RPi, Think Speak Loud. So if any doubt is there, you can raise the doubt.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, regarding that sound,
Yeah.
ultrasonic sound.
Yeah.
Sir, how can we determine